okay, I can do this because this is not hard and I've got what it takes. I'm ready to tell the story. Let's get into it. Hello there. Hi, my name is Kayleigh. Welcome back to my channel, or if this is the first time you're seeing my face, I'm so happy you're here. Today we're doing something different. Last week I recorded a video. Today we're talking about the game changer of understanding your hormone phases. But I learned so much about my hormones in this last week that I realized if I post that video, I'm not actually posting the authentic truth of what I know to date. And that's important to me. I would rather share my testimony of what I have learned about my hormones. If I sit here and talk to you about the game changer of tracking your phases, but I don't actually share to you the blood, sweat, and tears I have suffered because of my hormonal imbalances, then what am I giving you other than a shiny piece of cake? We need some protein, we need some sodium, we need the full balanced meal, right? We're gonna get into it. I'm off script today and I'm gonna share with you a really personal story from my life about my hormones. Let's go. Nearly 2 years ago, I moved from the United States to Turkey. I currently live in Ankara, and I did that because I met a man who I love. There's a whole story there. I'll share it with you later, but he happens to be Turkish and we happen to be here. When I moved from the United States to Turkey, I immediately got sick. Instead of this beautiful, wonderful, romantic fairy tale reunion, I spent weeks incapable of getting out of bed. I had gotten COVID, and I had gotten COVID severely, and my body responded by halting my ovulation. And I know that my ovulation halted for 2 reasons. 1, I can always tell when I'm ovulating. And 2, because my period was 3.5 weeks late. If there's no egg, there's no period, right? Right. Here's what I have just come to understand. I don't know if you guys know Barbara O'Neill. I'm gonna link the video that I watched where I learned this in the description below. But I have learned that when you ovulate, and I already knew this part, but I'm just gonna tell you everything. When you ovulate, your egg leaves your ovary and it goes into your fallopian tube, right? But it burst out. The egg enters the stage aggressively. It leaves behind a blister. And this is called the luteum corpus or corpus luteum. I don't remember, but it's called something with those 2 words. And this is where the hormone progesterone comes from. So if you don't ovulate and you don't create that blister, you don't have the hormone progesterone. Let's just take that, set it on a shelf. That's important. Additionally, when you ovulate, and maybe I can draw a graph. Maybe I have a pen. Okay, I'm gonna draw this out for you. I hope it's not gonna be backwards. When you start your period, you have this month cycle that goes from here to here. So this is your ovulation, right? So your estrogen climbs up, boom, and you ovulate. This is where your womb is like preparing for a baby. And then it drops because it no longer needs the estrogen, okay? Stick with me, this is important. While this is happening, your progesterone goes like this, and then it goes boom, and then it drops too. And your ovulation goes like that, your progesterone carries through luteal phase, and then boom, they go like that. So this is your ovulation, this is your luteal phase, this is your follicular phase, and this is menstruation and menstruation. If you don't have that progesterone that comes from that egg bursting forward, if you skip an ovulation, your progesterone doesn't come out through luteal like it should. So I missed 1 ovulation. 1 period was late, and the next one punched me into the ground. I'm like not exaggerating at all. My periods for the last 1.5 years have been so horrific that I have been on the floor crying because the cramps were radiating from my abdomen into my legs and up into my ribs. I have been exhausted. I've had 2 weeks of PMS straight every single month. Basically, for 2 weeks after I ovulate, I have PMS, fatigue, exhaustion, literal cramps happening. And then I have a really horrible period, and then I barely recover for a week as I lead up to ovulation, and it happens again. And I'm like, what? I had bad menstrual cycles my whole teenage years, everything. I've always had bad menstrual cycles. But when I was 21, I went through a process called healing through your cycles, and they got better. And I thought they were fine. So when I got here and I had this 1 period mess up and everything just go boom, 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 I was like, what's going on? Is it the COVID? Is it the vaccine? What is this? But I have learned something different. Now we have to rewind into my childhood. I learned from this lecture, which is linked below, that if a woman is on birth control from 3 to 5 years before she has her baby, she has a very high possibility of passing synthetic hormones to the baby. So let's talk about how birth control works just for a second. And I'm relaying what I have learned. So if you need to go fact check this or something, go do it. This is what I've learned, okay? And I'm presenting it to you. So back in the 1950s, when birth control was presented to the world, it was just estrogen, and it's synthetic estrogen. Estrogen, my friends, is a cell acceleration growth hormone. It grows cells at an accelerated rate. So they're giving all of this synthetic estrogen to women. So if you have any inkling of cancer, if you have any type of problem in the body, and you're just consistently taking estrogen, it accelerates the cell growth. So it's not that the birth control was just causing cancer, but it was accelerating anything that was there. So the doctors are like, well, snap, we gotta do something else. So they added synthetic progesterone. So now here's my understanding. When they added the synthetic progesterone, it told the body that there's no need to create progesterone because the body is pregnant. Because when we get pregnant, our progesterone skyrockets. It's called the happy hormone in a woman, and it is the hormone that creates the pregnancy glow. It's the progesterone. So when the body is consistently receiving progesterone, the body is like, snap, we're pregnant. No need to drop an egg. No need to produce our own progesterone. But that hormone, that synthetic hormone, cannot replace actual progesterone. We know this. Synthetic is never natural. It's not a replacement. It's an artificial substitute. When a woman is taking this version of birth control, she's consistently taking estrogen, which has to drop out of the body. Remember I said at ovulation it drops? It has to. But she's not dropping it. She's consistently taking estrogen, right? And then progesterone is just being taken enough to tell the body not to produce anything. So your progesterone level should be here and your estrogen should be here. But if you're taking the pill, oh no, it's doing this. The estrogen is skyrocketing. This is why women on the pill gain so much weight. They develop cysts, they develop fibroids, they end up developing endometriosis. It's because the cell growth accelerator hormone is constantly being pumped into you with nowhere to go. My mother conceived me while she was on the pill. So she had excessive amounts of estrogen. And here's what really connected it for me and blew my mind was that cabbage is extremely efficient at exiting estrogen out of the body. My mom, the entire time she was pregnant with me, craved cabbage like nobody's business. And I know that because every time she'd make us cabbage as a kid, she'd tell me, did you know this is what I wanted to eat all the time while I was pregnant with you? It clicked. Like I watched this lecture and it was like my brain went boom, 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 boom. Because my mom conceived me on the pill and then her body craved cabbage because it knew it had way too much estrogen. I'm being developed while there is synthetic hormones wreaking havoc on my mother's system. I inherited synthetic hormones because the number one sign that a woman has hormonal imbalance is that she begins her menstrual cycle early. Naturally, women should be beginning their menstrual cycles between 14, 16, even up to 18. We know that's not common anymore. I started mine at 10 years old. And maybe that feels like TMI, but it's not. It's a hormonal scientific thing that I experienced. So I have had hormonal imbalance, which makes sense in my teenage years. My cycles were horrifying. I have had hormonal imbalance my whole life. I was born with it. So when it came to missing one cycle getting messed up when I moved here and I got sick, it showed me that maybe my progesterone was here and my estrogen here. Maybe it was just that sensitive, that off kilter, that just one drop made everything go boom. So my mind is blown, okay? So I'm watching this lecture and I'm like, oh my God, I think I'm suffering a progesterone deficiency. And the lecture continues to talk about how do we fix this? Well, first of all, it starts talking about where is all of this estrogen in our society coming from? Because actually it's in our environment. Acceleration growth hormones are used to make our meat bigger, faster. Vegetables are genetically modified with it. It's even in plastics, actually. And it's under different chemical names, like I think the name was like phenol. Again, this lecture is linked below, but estrogen is everywhere. We're consuming estrogen all the time. You can't just have an excess of estrogen. You have to have the progesterone. We shouldn't be consuming estrogen like this. And I've been keeping track of my phases for the last year. I was gonna say year and a half, but it's been about a year, because when I understood that there was an imbalance and something going wrong, I was like, okay, ground zero. I need to start keeping track of my symptoms. I need to keep track of which phase I'm in, which symptoms are going with which phase, so that I can try to figure out what's happening. But it wasn't giving me the answers, because my hormonal imbalance isn't just because I've gotten sick. So this last year of trying so hard to balance these hormones the way I had done when I was 21, when I had done it at 21, it was just a Band-Aid. It wasn't truly deeply what's going on. So now I'm trying really hard to be mindful of where estrogen may be coming at me in my diet. And I'm also getting more intense about finding ways to raise my progesterone levels, or to instigate progesterone production in my body naturally. I'm looking into herbs, I'm looking into essential oils, I'm looking into different minerals, and I have learned that magnesium is really efficient for this. So I'm having some really intense lifestyle changes, and I wanted to share this with you instead, because I think a lot of us are at this place. And I was talking with my mother about this, and my mother has suffered from endometriosis for so long. Endometriosis is when the tissue of the uterine lining or structure starts to grow on the outside. Well, if you're constantly consuming a cell growth accelerator hormone, estrogen, of course, where are the cells gonna go if not to develop abnormalities in the body? So, the original video that I was going to create was the game changer of tracking your hormonal phases. It's still a game changer, guys, and I'll make a video about that again eventually. But here was my testimony that I have been suffering so much with hormonal imbalance. If you've had any kind of a similar journey and you have any tips and tricks for me in return, like, please share them with me and let us know below. Share your testimony, because they don't teach us that women's cycles are not supposed to be excruciating. They're not even supposed to be that painful. They're supposed to be a little uncomfortable, but we are not supposed to be sweating because of the pain of our cramps. They are not supposed to cause us to cry and to get sick. We are not supposed to be experiencing weeks of PMS symptoms. Everything is out of order and out of balance. I will update you on this journey as I continue making these videos for this channel, and I'll let you know more. And I really appreciate you sticking in with me with this video. I think I delivered it a little bit intensely, but this was the video that needed to come. This came from my heart. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for being here. Again, my name is Kayleigh. Go ahead and hit like, subscribe, all those good things. Whew. Peace out.